What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with part 2 of an unboxing of different mint-on-card action figures that I received back from grading with Collector Archive Services. They were running their 30-day turnaround special, and here is the second batch. Most of these I picked up mint-on-card ungraded from the Hakes auction in January, and they really turned out great. And I picked up 2 that go along with one that was already in my collection. This is the Palletoy Trilogo Biker Scout. And this one is graded AFA 85. I picked this up maybe a couple of years ago. And really nice example, straight 85s, although I would argue that the blister score is probably a little overgraded just given the light dings to it. But nevertheless, it did get the 85 score, but a beautiful example of the Palletoy Biker Scout. And here are 2 more Biker Scouts that I picked up in the last Hakes auction. And this is the first one that I'm going to show that just returned from CAS. They did a great job with this one. This is the 77 back A Biker Scout. And it really turned out nice. And as I talked about in past Hakes videos, is that you can oftentimes get pretty decent deals on ungraded mint-on cards from Hakes, because most of the big collectors, the big money collectors, they're all focused on the ones that are already graded or some other kind of rarities. And so as a result, in the January auction, they had a lot of really nice ungraded mint-on cards that went for very reasonable prices. And this is one of them, the 77 back A. And let me show you the grading label before we kind of talk about it. 77A, the card got an 80, the blister an 85, and the figure got an 85 for an overall 80. And it is slightly yellowed, which I did know when I purchased it, and that kept the price down very nicely. But it's tough to find the U.S. release card backs, Return of the Jedi, especially for the Biker Scout, without significant yellowing. And luckily, this one has just got very, very faint yellowing, as you can see there. But beautiful example. The weapon's still attached to the side of the blister. And this is the long snout or long nose Biker Scout. It did have a sticker that was kind of partially removed there, and a little bit of damage right there at the hang tab. But here's the back of the card. Figures made in Hong Kong. So this is the Hong Kong COO, I assume, for the Biker Scout, but a really nice, vibrant card in really great shape. It's punched. So again, all of those factors, the fact that it's punched with a little bit of sticker kind of residue there, and the fact that it's yellow, that really kept the price down, but very, very reasonably priced, and I was very happy with this last Hakes auction. The next one is the Stunner, though. This is one that I've been targeting, and I just haven't been able to pull the trigger on it. And that's the Made in Mexico Biker Scout. This is the 65 back B, made down in the Lily Letty factory in Mexico. And as you can see already, I don't know if it's coming through very well, but the card back is a much more matte finish. It doesn't have the high gloss finish with the vibrant colors that the U.S. card backs do. And everything from the photo to the card back, everything about it it's a much more matte finish, and we'll show you the back in a second. But as is the case with most Lily Lettys, this blister is nice and crystal clear. And here is the grading on that one. So 65 back B, Biker Scout, made in Mexico, 80, 85, 80 were the sub-scores for an 80 grade. And the weapon did come loose from it. This is the short mouth Biker Scout, so you know it's the Lily Letty. And it also has the darker, slightly darker brown Lily Letty blaster pistol, and which it's a lot darker than the U.S. release version. But you can see the difference in the nose on that Biker Scout. So that is the short nose Lily Letty Biker Scout inside. In terms of the condition of it, I knew it was kind of on the fence in terms of what it would get. The big defect was a slight crease on the card there. But overall, I was pretty hopeful and pretty confident it would get the 80, and it did get an 80 score. So here's the back of the card, and as I talked about, it's a much more matte finish. This side really shows the difference in the card quality for these made in Mexico for the U.S. market. So these were made down in Mexico, but made for the U.S. market, and there were certain characters that they did it for. I have the Squid Head, the Reese, the Darth Vader, and now the Biker Scout on the MIM, made in Mexico. And then, as you can also often see on these cards, it does say made in Mexico down there at the bottom. And usually there is a factory hole punch that goes through the back of the card that kind of allows it to breathe. That was made at the factory. This one does not have that, though, and you do see that sometimes. Usually it's going to be right around in here where that little hole punch is. So if you got a Made in Mexico card and you got a little hole punch right here, don't freak out. That was done by the factory. But in this case, this one missed that factory hole punch process. And but it's really nice to get two more awesome Biker Scouts. And that's going to be kind of the theme for this video, is that most of the items that I'm going to show you are adding to my Imperial Army in terms of vintage Kenner and Palitoy mint on cards. But it really turned out great. So now I've got the Palletoy, I've got the US release 77 back A, and then the Made in Mexico 65 back B. Let's dig into three more Imperial Army members. Next up, we've got the Imperial Commander, and this is another one I picked up at Hakes. 5 of the 6 that I'm going to show you came from Hakes, but this one is the 47 back ESB with the free Forlam offer. This is a fairly common one. This one and the 41 back A with the survival kit offer for the Imperial Commander are probably two of the most numerous card backs you'll find out there, and as a result, that keeps the price down just a little bit. But this was a pretty nice example. It was kind of a partially unpunched card back. As you can see right there, the punch at the top has kind of come loose a little bit. It did have a price sticker of $289, and it's a nice crystal clear blister. Unfortunately, during shipping back from CAS, the footer kind of came loose there, so you can see that the footer is no longer underneath the Imperial Commander. I might try to do my shaking trick. I don't know if you guys remember, but I had the same thing happen with a 32 back B ESB Yoda, and the footer did come loose, and I was able, after months and months of kind of shaking it and tapping it and things like that, I was able to get it back underneath his feet. This one's going to be a little bit more difficult because the weapon has also come loose, which it had already come loose prior to me sending it to CAS, but during the whole shipping process, I think that weapon pushed down a little bit and was able to shift that little footer that goes underneath the Imperial Commander's feet. But anyway, I'm not really worried about it, but maybe I'll give it a try. But I think between the tape and the weapon there, it's going to be really tough to get that one back in. But beautiful image there of Julian Glover, who obviously played the Imperial Commander, or one of the Imperials during the Empire Strikes Back. And just a gorgeous looking example. Nice popping offer sticker there for Forlam. And here is the label on this one. It got an 85 for the card, 85 for the blister, and a figure score obviously got the 80 since the weapon had come loose during, prior to me sending it off. So you can't really get an 85 once that weapon has come loose inside the blister. But 47 back and the overall 85. And that's about where I expected. I was thinking it would probably either get an 80 plus or an 85. Every single one of these that I'm going to show you, they came back almost exactly what I expected. And this one was right on the fence between an 85 and an 80 plus, and the grading gods did give me the 85 on that one. But pretty nice example. Here's the back of the card. And as I talked about, the punch is kind of partially unpunched. The top of it has kind of come loose a little bit, and that was already the case when I picked it up from Hakes. But a beautiful example of the 47 back. And I think I've got the Cloud Car Pilot and a few others. I don't remember off the top of my head. I've got 3 or 4 different 47 back, so nice to add that one. This is my first Imperial Commander mint on card too, so nice to add that. Next up was another Hakes purchase, and that is the Palletoy Trilogo AT-AT driver. And it's a beautiful example, unpunched. And I knew once I picked it up in hand, when I was bidding on it, I was like, this is either going to be a 75 plus or a very, very low 80, because the card has some kind of light creasing that doesn't come through very well right now. But once I opened it from Hakes, I knew immediately it was going to be a 75 plus, just because the card was not in as good a shape as I was hoping. But given what I paid for it, I paid under $200 for it. I think I paid $180 for it, somewhere in that ballpark. Which I'll take. I mean, that's another nice addition for my Trilogo run, and I think it'll come through in the light right there. But you can see that soft crease there and there, and so once I saw that when I opened it from Hakes, I knew that there's no chance of getting an 80 on that. And you can see some more light creases there. So it's very faint, and this certainly presents much nicer when it's not in the sunlight, when you're not shining light on it. It certainly presents a lot nicer than a 75 plus, but the blister was in fantastic condition. This is not the PBP, so there is a PBP AT-AT Commander that came inside some Trilogos with the very pale face, but this is just the standard Hong Kong figure. Again, another kind of Imperial Army member, and what's cool about the AT-AT Commander is that it does show the walkers during the Battle of Hoth there. And so here is the grade on it. As I said, the card got a 75, which I expected. The blister got an 80, figure 85, for an overall 75 plus. So it came in right in line with what I expected for it. And the blister was, I mean, you know, for an 80 grade blister, it really presents nicely. So here's the back of the card. It did have one little kind of faint crease here as well that does show through on the other side. And you can see some more kind of spider veining here. So again, I'm not being picky. I'm not complaining by any means because the price I paid, but I wanted to at least show you why it got the 75 plus instead of the 80 grade, and it's every bit of deserving a 75 plus. So, and again, that was my first AT-AT Commander mint on card until I also picked up this one. And this one is a 45 back Star Wars Display Arena, probably the most common card back to find the AT-AT Commander. This is a very, very common one. They produce these in big numbers, and it's kind of interesting to show you side by side at the same time the differences between the card image, and that's the case for a lot of these Palletoy Trilogos, is that they either zoom out or there's a slight difference to the card image. They might airbrush out some things. But like for the example, the AT-AT driver, it's missing the chest apparatus on the close-up on the Palletoy Trilogo. But as you can see there, it's just a very slightly different angle in terms of how they show it on the card back. But this 45 back is really great. It really turned out nice, and it's got a beautiful crystal clear blister, unpunched with a price sticker of the Toy Shop $3.99. And the grading on that one, straight 80s, which I also expected, 45 back A. I would have been really shocked if this had not gotten the overall 80 grade. So it came in right with expectations. And then here's the back. Obviously, at this point, we all know the 45 back pretty well. One of my favorite items in my collection is the debut card 45 back Luke Hoth that I picked up and got graded from AFA late last year. And it came back with an 80 plus. But anyway, just another example of an AT-AT Commander, and all three of these really turned out great. Finally, my last pickup from Hakes was another addition to my Star Wars Bounty Hunter run of Dengar, and these are the three that were already in my collection. We've got the 41 back A survival kit offer that I picked up from Rogue 5 Toys on Facebook, and then I've got two 41Es, one of them the Smile Factory, one of them the Cater Factory. So I don't know why I have two different factory codes, but I think mainly because one of them was super cheap that I found at a toy convention last year, and it's just hard to part with it once you get it, you know what I mean? So the next one that I picked up at Hakes was easily the most expensive of the 5 mint on cards that I've shown you so far. This is the big one. This is the 48 back Return of the Jedi free Neon Numb offer. And if you guys watch my kind of market updates, you guys know all about this card back and how tough it is to find this one. These are transition cards, so only Empire Strikes Back and Star Wars characters appeared on this Return of the Jedi 48 back free Neon Numb offer. None of the Return of the Jedi figures started appearing on card backs until the 65 backs. So very tough one to get, and what makes it especially special is that it is a clear blister. So once I saw this at Hakes come up, I rolled the dice and I was like, I'm pretty sure this will get an 80 as well, and that's exactly what it got. But a beautiful example. This one is an unpunched example with a Toys R Us price sticker. Big, ugly Toys R Us price sticker. I would never try to kind of take it off, though. I just think it kind of adds a little kink to it. And what is cool about it, when I saw it, I was like, well, that'll match nicely with my 41 back A that also has the Toys R Us price sticker. So what a gorgeous example, and very, very happy to get this one. This is probably one of the tougher Dengar mint on cards to get. So very, very pleased with it, and it presents really nicely. You can see a little bit of damage around the hang tab right there. There's also some light dings to the blister at the top, but I was pretty confident it would get the 80 score, and that's exactly what it got. 48 back, card got an 80, blister 80, figure 85. So right in line with what I expected. The weapon is still attached to the inside of the blister, right on the border of a 75 plus or an 80. But it just really turned out nice, and very, very happy to have this one. And you can see that the hang tab is kind of partially unpunched again, so that seems to be the theme with most of the items that I picked up that had the punch inside, is that they were kind of partially unpunched. I think that the Palletoy Trilogo AT-AT Commander was fully unpunched, but the rest of them had some kind of, pulling away a little bit from the rest of the card back. But what an awesome item. Very, very happy to get this one, and everything worked out just swimmingly with Hakes. They packed everything really great, and CAS did a fantastic job, turned these around. I think I sent these in late January as part of the 30-day turnaround offer that CAS is running, and they returned to me in early March. So it was about 30 days, but I had some other items going, obviously, as part of that vintage collection unboxing that I showed you yesterday. But I just think that Hakes and CAS, they both did great jobs with my orders, and I could not be any happier. And I did put together a nice slideshow at the end with some close-ups of the grading label and some stills for each of these beautiful mint on cards that I've added to my collection. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back soon.